Hello, welcome back to Math 7. We are in our third unit, percentages. Last time we did a review of proportions and you got a little bit of practice remembering what you know about percentages. Today we're going to take it a step further. We're going to talk about percent estimation. So go ahead and go into Canvas, look for percentages week 1, go to Tuesday, and we're going to check out Unit 3, Lesson 2. I'm going to go ahead and click the link to make a copy of our slides. Alright, so now let's change the view to 100%. Remember that you can pause this at any time, and often I'm going to ask you to pause to go ahead and complete things before I do and check to see if you get it right. But fill in your name, date, and period. A percentage is a part to whole ratio where the whole is always 100. Alright. Now we're going to complete the table, so you're going to look at these. You're going to calculate the percent, the fraction, and the decimal. So take a minute, figure that out, and we'll be right back to do it once you've had a chance. So pause the video, go ahead and do that. Good. Now, first thing we want to check is that this is actually 100. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it is 10 by 10. That is definitely 100 blocks. So that's 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is 25 out of 100, which by our definition is 25. Oh, let's get that going in there. 25%, right? And like we said, that was 25 divided by 100, which, let's simplify that one because that definitely simplifies. They're both divisible by 25. Now, sometimes we'll want to leave it like this out of 100 because then we can relate it to the percent very easily, but both of these represent the same number of blocks here, the same amount. And then as a decimal, that is 0.25. So that's 25 hundredths. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 full rows, so that's 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, they got that one right. That is 85 divided by 100. Both of those are divisible by 5, and we get 17 out of 20. So 17 out of 20 is the same as 85 out of 100, which is 85%, which is 0.85. Let's take a look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of 10, so that is 40 blocks. So that's 40%, which is 40 out of 100, which is also 4 out of 10 or 2 out of 5, right? And then this one is 0.4 or 0.40. And we'll talk about at some point when you add a trailing zero. Mostly, I think we're going to have a chance to talk about that when we get into statistics, because that's when it's sort of related to the stuff that we do in math. Otherwise, it's kind of more important to stuff that you do in science and robotics, and when you're talking about something called precision. Don't have time to talk about it now, so we're just going to skip over that for now. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our model. So what we can think of is this bar as one whole. So we're going to think about something that we're going to call the percent bar. Percent bar. And it didn't open the little text box for me. We've got our percent bar or our percent proportion. Okay, so we've been talking about those proportion relationships, and we want to think about 1/5. Alright, now, I am not happy with how I set these up, so I am going to change these. So let me go ahead and delete these. And let's just talk about this first one. So we took this whole and we broke it up into fifths. So this is 0. This is 1/5. 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5, which is 1 whole, right? Well, let's take this whole thing, except for, so we're breaking it into 5 parts. Well, let's break 100 into 5 parts. So if we have 0, then we take 1/5 of 100. So instead of having 1 up here, we're going to have 100 up here, right? Well, let's break that down. 1/5 of that would be 20. And we're just going to go up by 20s this time. And then we can say this one, oh, not 20. What's 20 plus 20? 40. And then add another 20, and that's going to be my 60. And then add another 20, and that's going to be my 80. So we can see that, oh, 1/5 of something is the same as 20%. 2/5 is the same as 40%. 3/5 is the same as 60%. 4/5 is the same as 80%. So we can say 1/5 is equal to 20 over 100. Likewise, we can break this one up. So let's go ahead and add a new text box here. So this is going to be 0. Oh, see, let's just grab that one. And then we can move this one all the way up to 1 whole, right? I don't know what's going on here. All right. Well, this is 3/4 here, so we're taking our 100 and we're going to break it up into 4 pieces. So let's take 100 divided by 4, that's 25. So we get 0, 25, 50, 75, and then 100. So 3/4 here just matches up with 75%. So 3 over 4 is the same as 75 over 100. Alright, so that's our first slide, and we've seen all the relationships sort of match up and line up. And we're going to use that bar, except for now we're going to change the size of this first bar to be the size of whatever the thing we're dealing with. Alright? So we're going to take the same idea with a bar and labeling one side of it versus labeling the other side of it. So let's look here. If we want, for example, 50% of 50. So on this bar, we're actually just going to think of the top amount here is 50, right? And then, well, 50%, so if this is 100% up here, this is 50%, that's half, right? So 50% is half the bar. So what's half of 50? 25. So 50% of 50 is 25, because it just measures half of our bar. Likewise, if we want to find 25%, well, 25% is sitting here at 1/4 of the way across. So here's our 25%, right? Well, let's just think about cutting our 50. So let me just put this, well, we'll just tab over. So here's our 50, and we'll make that just a little bit bigger so it lines up properly. And then half of that was 25, and then half of that would be 12.5. So 12.5 is 25% of 50. You could also notice that we could take the number, so 100 divided by 2 is 50, 50 divided by 2 is 25. So we could have taken whatever the ratio is here and applied it here, right? So that's the other thing as we're going to look at for doing that. So let's look at this one. Up here, and we want to line up these two, so I'm going to just change something so it's a little bit easier to do. Alright, so if I open up this one here and I'm going to say, hey, here is 100% and 100% of 50, right? So 10% is 1/10 of the way. So let's divide this by 10 to get 10%. We divide this by 10, we're going to get 5 way over here. So 5 is 10% of 50. So we can use those bars to help us out. Let's think about this one. Well, 20% of 80. So here again, we're thinking about, and I'm going to justify these right, so it's a little bit easier to work. We've got 100% here. And that is going to be 80 here. Well, if we wanted like 10%, we could just divide it by 10. So this one would be 8. So 10 corresponds to 8, and 20 corresponds to 16. All right. So 20% of 80 is 16. Right? Because this first 10% would be divided by 10, so that's 8, and then another 10% would be 16. 75% of 200, well, let's just cut it in half, and I'm going to switch over to the drawing toolbar. So if here we have our 200, and that is 100%, well, half of that would be 100, and that would be 50%. Well, halfway in between those two is 150. So 150 is 75%. So 75% of 200 is 150. Okay. Now, summarize what you learned. Go ahead and add a new text box here. And then we're going to try to apply some of that in our assignment that we're going to be watching, or that you'll have an access to. Okay, so go ahead and look for that assignment and get started on it.